watch this video. Make una see as they go. Make una know so we don't wake up. And they will go wake up. Share them. To Saramia. Make you see.
How do African leaders get here? How do we get to this position? How do we get to this serious situation that is dividing African continent? The northern citizens have come out in mass saying they don't want France. They don't want the US. In Kano State, there is a very strong protest against the Western influence. It is very sad. The African leaders listen to the dictatorship of the West. Now, we have been enemy of each other. How do we get here? How will Africa get out of this mess? Because it's a big revolution in Africa. What is your take? How do you get out of this mess? But Mr. President, the ECOWAS president, Nigeria president, is not saying what the West are planning. But these have been said before now. Can you please listen to this and see what have been going on in the West and see what they've translated this to in Africa?
I think that we need to be more responsible, and our salvation outside God will be by responsible governments on the continent of Africa. Corrupt governments, those who are just looking for money from the West, are going to kill their people like fools. We shall die like fools if we have a government which is corrupt and is only waiting to be given money by the international community. We should never accept everything that comes to us without verifying it ourselves. So I shall not debate myself.
When facts and truth govern what people do and say, when lies give way, and when light beams on the patches of obstacles deliberately created by man, then that environment becomes safe for mankind to dwell therein. In 1972, it was agreed that Nigeria should not, under any guise, be allowed to grow. I said this yesterday. Many leaders called me until they found these secret documents. And I'm going to talk in this direction, culminating to the games going on even now. And I am concerned talking now simply because we are inching into another phase of a program that will face this country in a hard way. And Tekra, who is also a Nigerian, who is also a father who has children who care for the well-being of this country. I know I was part of some military governments yesterday, but one may ask, at what capacity? What was my age? Were the allegations laid on me true? I went through persecution, met 15 judges, set aside. Those who persecuted me and called me names on pages of newspapers are ashamed to look at me. They cannot shake hands with me. They are elder members of elder states. If the case were to be in reversal order, no, it won't be different. But I was painted the way I was painted, so my destiny is to go through that path.
Please do not buy into the anti-African agenda. Africans are hated everywhere, so we too cannot afford to hate Africans. Black people are hated everywhere. When you see a black person, see yourself. When you see a black person, say, my brother, my sister, let's work together to build the African continent so that it can compete with the United States of America, it can compete with Europe, it can compete with China. You hate
sources. The way policies are created and given to those in power to just do it blindly so that they can support them. I give you 2 examples, and the first speaker, please take note of this. You served in Babangida's government. When there is a military government in place, it is coup that brought them to power. What you may not know is that there are international communities involved. There are Nigerians involved. contractors and civilians involved. There are some notable civil servants involved. When the government is formed, the government is not independent. Concept or policies are sold, and the government is told to carry them out as part of agreements. When labor doesn't like it, you go on strike. But there are questions you didn't ask. There's so much energy you dissipated that you shouldn't have. What you would have done was negotiation rather than confrontation. The labor would have been richer. There was a psychological aspect of it. Because unless there is friction, unless there is gap between a government and the people, those in power will sit comfortably. But the more they create stories and friction is raised, out of nothing, government will not be on her feet. Bodies like labor will not be on their feet. But the more the friction, the better. And it is when you are fighting that you lose your resources. And I'll give you an example. In 1995, the need to look for resources to run African states became an issue. Nigeria was more or less totally bankrupt. The need to run Nigeria became an issue. Salary payment was difficult. Then Libyan government, along with Germany, decided to utilize a satellite from a private satellite company that has shares of government of Germany in it. They discovered uranium in abundance and in high quality, well spread in Niger. Out of curiosity, that leader and other leaders decided to say, scratch part of Nigeria and let's take a look. They were shocked with what they discovered. In Northeast, they discovered a portion. And that portion, in part of Zambeza, leading to Lake Chad. What was deposited there, this is not hearsay. I was in Libya, I was in attendance, along with Nigeria's ambassador, 2 of us allowed, then he was later told to go, and I was left alone, along with the Libyan leader and the German company and the owners of the satellite. What was kept there was capable of producing 10 Dubais, 1996. You can quote me in the eyes of this world, Mustafa said so. I'm not into rhetorics. I love this country, I stand for this country. We are already targeted and hated by numerous forces. But if that is what they should do for us rendering service to Nigeria, then definitely they have not started. What we discovered at that material time was a shocker. So I asked questions, as if I didn't understand what they were saying. The Libyan leader then, may so rest in peace, said, and I quote, I mean, what is in this place is enough for you to produce 10 Dubais, 1996. The product of this satellite was brought to Nigerian head of state by me. I brought the 2 metallic boxes. Where is it? Who took it? What happened? Where is the money? Now hold on. What might interest you is what I'm going to say. Nigeria is poor. Your industries are dead. But hear this.
Please do not buy into the anti-African agenda. Africans are hated everywhere. So Wetu cannot afford to hate Africans. Black people are hated everywhere. When you see a black person, see yourself. When you see a black person, say, my brother, my sister, let's work together to build the African continent so that it can compete with the United States of America, it can compete with Europe, it can compete with China. You hate Africans, but you don't hate the Chinese. You always say the Africans are taking your jobs. Stop being used on black violence. Stop being used on an anti-black agenda. love yourself, and once you love yourself, you love another black person. Now an African who threatens me. African. Like it anale mosadi wa ka, like bona le Nigeria, a ke na taba le lona shem. Yana le na o ka ra le ba bona ma Nigeria le a tshuwe so. Don't be scared. We are one thing that was divided by colonialists because they were threatened by the unity of Africans. Can you imagine there is an African currency? Barunal currency of Africa. That currency is going to be more powerful than the dollar itself because that currency will be backed by the minerals of Africa. Today, the pound of Britain is one of the strongest currencies. Why? Backed by gold. But when you go to Britain, there is no gold mine. But they've got the biggest gold reserves all over the world. Because they come take it here, they came and stole it here, and they've stored it there. And that's what makes them unique. There is no France. There is no France without Africa. The day Africa liberates itself from France, France will collapse as a country because France, it is based on everything African. They don't have anything to offer to themselves. They keep on taking from Africa. So please, let's make sure that we plow the idea of African unity. We may not be there when Africa gets one president, but we'll be the ones who have planted that idea amongst our children, and our children will salute us forever.